Well, hello track gang, and welcome to episode 4 for 2026. What's going on in this week's episode? Well, we're doing some work down in Boeville Yard is what we're doing this week, so let's get down the tracks. Hello track gang, and as you know, it is episode 4 for 2026. That must be January the 13th of 2026, and there's something missing back there. Well, to be perfectly honest, the only way to get to the corner over here is to take the backdrop down. So what I've been doing over here, and if you notice, if you've seen videos in the past, you know I've done thank you to Mr. Ken Amos for the, again, for the pink foam. That worked out wonders in that corner. Of course, it took a bit to get it like that. Last night I came down here and I finished tacking down the tracks for the Interurban, which is up here. And I noticed the other day when I was down here, I didn't like the transition that I had from, and I'm not sure, yeah, I can get it over here. So I wasn't happy with the transition that was over here. And what I've decided to do, because the reality is when I get into the cityscape, Uptown and downtown Boeville, I want the tracks to be at street level. Unlike when I did the other side over here, where they're kind of raised up a little bit. They're a little bit higher than the road, and I know I've got some work to still do over here to kind of hide some gaps and things of that nature. That's cleanup work, which will happen once I get the parts that I need to be able to do the dam. And I'm actually thinking about doing something different over there. I saw something today that I might actually try, so who knows what that's going to look like. But the thing is I want to, and I'm sorry if this thing shakes a lot, but I'm trying to get it turned back around here. So anyway, I just got finished gluing down the sub-road bed, or the road bed I should say, over here, so that I can finish laying the track. And what I'm going to do is I've got this long shim that just happens to line up with the roadbed height-wise, and will give me a nice smooth transition down to the foam down here on the other side of the warehouse. Now, I've been kind of hiding a couple of things here. Because I've been on the side doing some 3D printing. Oh boy. And I've come up with another idea for the warehouse, number 1. But number 2, and I don't think I left it out here. I think I put it in the back. I had, if anybody remembers the old Plasticville station, had the station itself, and then there was like a passenger platform. I didn't like the passenger platform, so I went on to Thingiverse and I found this. Now this is an old-time bus stop, but it'll work out great, I think, as a interurban stop, and I've printed out 2, 4, 6 of them. Because they're going to be, in fact, over here there's 2 more, and then there's 2 more up by the school and the church. Logical places for a stop. So that's one 3D project, and the other one just finished last night. Now I'm going to move the camera here a little bit, because I came up with another another interesting little tidbit, and it may not be 100% prototypical, but then again, it's my railroad, so yeah. What have you got over here, Ray? Well, what we've got over here is an icing platform. And what's really cool is, even though I screwed up the first two prints, this one here I can actually get the box cars or the refrigerator cars underneath. Now, I can get the refrigerator cars to go underneath of it. I just tested this out with the latest print, which is the one closest to the end of the warehouse, the north end of the warehouse. Excuse me a minute, I'm trying to get a refrigerator car back on the track because I'm doing this by hand. Apparently I got a little heavy-handed with it. Alright, here we go. Now, provided nothing is shifted, I can get my refrigerator cars up underneath of there. So, the only issue that I've actually got two issues with this. Number one, I want it actually down a little bit further, which means that I'm going to have to redo the face of the warehouse, which isn't a big deal because, like I said, I'm going to be changing this. Now, let me explain. These two sections that are blanking plates over here, these are going to stay. But what's going to change is, when I first put this together, I was going to cut panels in half. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over so the first door for the warehouse is actually going to be right over here. That's number one. Number two, I also found, and actually John, number two, had actually sent me some designs for some windows, but I finally found some windows on Thingiverse that kind of match the ones that are down at Camden Yards. Now, again, caveat here, I'm not trying to recreate that warehouse at all. That would be way too painstaking and way too big. I've called it the warehouse at Camden Yards because that's what I want to design it after. So, with that being said, I've got the windows. Now, there is another design modification that I'm going to make to this, and that is going to be actually putting in a loading dock on the opposite side of the platform there, the icing platform, and having it come all the way down. And it may end up being that the last, this is where it's going to end, is right over here. I'm not even sure if that's on camera. Okay, so right now it's ending here. It's probably pretty much going to end where it's at. But I'm thinking about building another smaller warehouse, not a warehouse, but another receiving area for possibly a thing called American Bank Stationaries, or Oscar T. Smith. Now, those that are from the Baltimore and Maryland area may know about Oscar T. Smith, some may not. Oscar T. Smith used to print, they did a lot of different printing, but the story that my grandfather had was that he went to sign up for the draft, and they wouldn't let him because he worked for Oscar T. Smith that was already printing checks for the government at the time. So they basically told him, and beside the fact that he was, I believe he had just become a dad, and all, they were like, you need to go back home. So I know that's probably going to make some people, I understand, but that was what we were told, is he was basically told, you're already working for the government, you need to go back to work, because he was a print setter. So that's what he did. That he had a very specific job, and there weren't too many typesetters or print setters left at that point. So that's the reason why, at least as far as we know, that's the reason why he was told to go back to work. At any rate, so now I'm going to get back over to this area. Now, I've come up with an idea as to what I'm going to do with, it'd be nice to have a pointer. On God. I doubt that this is going to work, but we'll try it. The wall that's going to be over here at the incline. I've actually got an idea as to how I'm going to do that too. I had originally thought of just continuing this wall, but to be honest, that was enough of a pain in the butt the first time I did it. I ain't doing that again. I already started and realized, you know, it's not going to work anyway because I had to score the backside of the foam core to even get it to lay against the pink foam. So that's not going to work. But what I am going to do, and of course I must have taken it off the layout already and put it over on the table, which apparently I did, because I don't see it. Well, shoot. Oh well. I've still got some of the old brick pattern that I had, so I'm going to use that instead. Put that on there and see what it looks like, and we'll go from there. Now, since we're also talking about the interurban line, there was one other thing that was printed out, and that was a set of these. These are guardrails for highways, and they will be protecting the pedestrians as they cross over the bridge over top of the reservoir. So I found those on Thingiverse as well. I found a bunch of stuff. I'm sorry, I went off camera. I found a bunch of stuff on Thingiverse. So basically for right now, that's it. I'm hoping once I get this dry, once this dries a little bit over here, I may end up trying to run a streetcar or a trolley from the north end down at least possibly behind the warehouse. That so the track should be in decent enough shape that I can do that. What's on the other side of the backdrop? Yeah, maybe not so much. Especially since I want to change that, and I'm not going to talk about that here, one step at a time. So let me go ahead and let this settle down a little bit over here, and we'll be back. Alright, track gang, you know, sometimes the best laid plans, and I know I've said this before, let me show you the disaster that I just created myself. Hopefully. Here we go. Of course I can't see. Alright. One nice thing is this section, the curved section, which is now sitting over there, came out fairly easily. Now, I'm hoping, and I doubt that it's going to show up on camera here very well, but we'll see what we can do. this section here has to come out. The problem is I didn't have the foresight at the time when I put the backdrop in, and if you notice the backdrop, I think it shows up on camera, the backdrop between that separates Uptown Boeville on this side and Downtown Boeville on that side. Downtown Boeville's over here, Uptown's over here. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't have the foresight to split this piece from the opposite section. So this was one piece. And to be perfectly honest, it worked out great with the way I had it planned. That was until I put the backdrop down the center of this. So, I've got some thoughts as to how I'm going to rectify the situation over here. And first off, it's going to involve, I wish this thing would spin a little bit easier, but sometimes it doesn't. It's going to involve this post. I'm going to put a piece of wood behind here to help hold up the downtown section. The downtown section from the uptown section. And the nice thing of it is there's plenty of bracing already here. I think I'm going to be able to split this pretty much down. I've already got a gap here, so I'm going to try to follow that all the way over. And then, because of the fact that I plan on putting a board up underneath of this post to hold that section, and obviously this section as well, because if I split it, there's not going to be anything here to hold it. So that's kind of the plan. First thing I got to do is I got to clean things off here a little bit, and then I've got to bring over probably the jigsaw and possibly even the plunge saw, because I don't think, and in fact I know I'm not going to be able to bring the circular or the saber, the jigsaw all the way over, so I'm going to have to plunge cut this side. I was hoping the other day when I was looking at this that I'd be able to just take off one side of the backdrop. No, because this is a dual-sided backdrop. Because it's a dual-sided backdrop, there's one on either side. That wasn't going to work. One other thing, while I've got the camera rolling over here on... Hi! One other thing I've got to look at while I've got this section being worked on is I got to figure out where I'm going to place the buildings. I know I already had buildings up here. Downtown, not so much. Uptown is still pretty much in flux because I don't know how I want to handle it yet. One of the big things is whatever goes over in this. Sheesh. Whatever goes into this corner here has to be able to come up in one piece. So that's going to be the interesting part. The other night, and while I'm over here, the other night what I did is I actually cut pieces of track to fit here and also down here on the other side of the post, so that way I could lift this section out independently of everything else. The only issue is the fact that where I made the original cut, as the backdrop just fell over because the camera is laying up against it because of the tripod. Oh, come on, there we go. Jeez. This is on a curve, and I'm not real keen on cutting a curved piece of track to have a gap here. So it's one of the things I'm going to have to kind of look at is, and like I said, here's the actual piece of track that belongs here. I mean, it's going to be, that's right on that corner, and it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to be cutting right there. At least not right now. I may change that in the future. But what I've got is I've got a piece of track down here that I can scoot the rail joints back far enough to where I could get the piece of track out to be able to lift the section out of here. As the backdrop just fell over again. It's a little tight back here. It's 3 feet between the layout and the wall approximately, but it's still tight back here when you got the camera back here. Let's see if I can put the backdrop someplace where it's not going to fall over on me. Anyway, so there's a couple of things that I want to still work on over here, and the whole purpose of this is being able to get to the tracks that are underneath, because I know I've got a bad joint down there. A bad rail joint down there. I don't want anybody getting the wrong idea. There's a bad rail joint, and the possibility of one of my turnouts, my curved turnouts, has a problem. So I want to get this section up so I can troubleshoot that. Why is that important? Why are you messing with this? Okay. One of the things that's coming up is obviously I have now got 9 months before the October show, and I know that there's at least one person that was really interested to come over here and operate on the layout. Great. I've got to have this thing 100% by then, and it's not, and it's been driving me nuts because of the fact that when you have the southbound passenger trains coming out of the station, you have to basically force them across that turnout to get them back on the, once they're on the main line, they're fine. That's not good operation. That needs to be fixed, and it's been a problem for a while now, and it's just like, after I put the back, I'm like, I really don't want to go ripping this damn thing apart. I'm at that point where I've got to rip the damn thing apart. So, and the other thing is since next weekend, or actually by the time this video comes out, I'll be in Amherst, so I'm going to be looking for things to work on the dam scene and some other scenery stuff that I want to get, trees and things of that nature. I figure that's a good place to start. If I don't find it there, I've got October that I can work on that scenery, the trees and things. I do want to get the dam scene done and off my plate, but we're not there right now. I want to get this thing fixed operationally, so we're going to work on that. All right, track gang. Well, I ended up having to take a lot more of the layout apart than what I had originally planned, which presented its own problems. However, I found the problem over here. There was a bad rail joint that was causing probably 75% of the issue. The other 25% of the issue was actually the turnout. Now, this is a power routing turnout, so it's set up for DCC. The issue was, or still is, as far as I know, because I've played, I've fiddled, I've messed, and I'm still not sure I've got it. There's two little ferrous brass pieces that go on that are under on the throw bar that go under the rails, and I have played, messed. Like I said, I've tweaked it. I'm still not 100% sure it's going to work 100% of the time. So it's one of those things. For right now, I've got the bigger part of this problem, which, like I said, was a rail joint back here in the straight section going into the crossover. That's taken care of. Now, as you can see, there's a lot more of the layout here apart than what I had, like I said, originally planned. That's all right. It is what it is. To get this section up to where I could cut it, I actually had to take this section up because the two of them were joined at the hip underneath. Fun stuff. So anyway, I am now going to, because I've got the cut made in the plywood, I have now got to go and make the cut into the supporting wood. So when I get done and get it all back together, I'll show you what we've got. I just had to fix the rig because I hit it a couple of times. Anyway, one of those projects that leads to another project that leads to another project that you hadn't planned on doing. However, for the most part, we are back together. Yay! What a pain in the Watusi this was. I'm not going to show some of the things that are up here or out here because there's been a couple of changes. And that's going to be a part of a future episode. Not sure if it'll be next week or not, but we'll see. Anyway, I have the upper deck back together. Of course, idiot me, and I think I've already mentioned this, but I didn't think about the fact that the corner piece can't come out unless you take out the piece next to it. No big deal. It's just the way it went together because of the fact that I had to put that extra brace in up underneath that I hadn't planned on putting there. That was number one. Number two, actually, I have a question for the group. This retaining wall that I am planning on putting up there, I've got an idea for it because I think I've also already mentioned this. I was originally going to go ahead and score it the way I did the wall over here. But because of the fact that I had to bend that, I'm afraid if I start scoring it, it's going to come apart. So I'm actually just going to use some plastic brick work that I had left over from the other retaining walls, and I'm going to put that up there. Now, the question becomes, do I leave it tall like that? Or, and I've already made a pencil mark on the back side of it, do I angle it with the top, not so much the rail heads themselves, but close to it, and have it come down? That's a 50-50. I'm not sure which way to go with that. I mean, I realize it's my railroad, but I'm asking because I don't know which way to go with it. I don't know what's going to look better. If I leave it that way or if I cut it down. Thing of it is I've actually got another piece that I had already scored that was actually a little too short lengthwise. And then I could always go ahead and cut that one, see what it looks like. If I don't like it, then I'll use this one. But either way, I figured I'll ask the masses out there what they think. That could be dangerous. There are going to be some changes to the second deck, building placement wise. And I'm going to play around with that some more probably in the next episode. But we're done. I figured it out that the reality is the one Shinohara left or right hand curved turnout has got its own issues. And I know I just got finished talking about that, so I'm debating whether while I'm at this train show or the one in April is to whether I'm going to look to see if I can find another 22-inch, I think that's a 22-inch radius curved turnout, to replace that one, because I'm not real happy with it. The other ones are fine. That one, I don't know who modified it, but they didn't do a very good job of it. And it's been flaky since I put it in there. So, and of course it has to be underneath the freaking city. And it goes back to something that I remember when I was doing this whole thing that, you know, even Jenny over at the, Jenny Kirk was like, putting a deck over top of curved turnouts, which have a tendency to be cantankerous to begin with. That's bold. Yeah, well, it's probably going to come back to bite me, but that's beside the point. Like I said, progress was made. As you all saw in the short, yes, I did have the streetcars running on the Interurban line again. I haven't tested it since I went ahead and did the rework, because I also noticed that the way I had done it on the downtown side, where a couple of the splits wasn't going to work out. Number one. Number two, there's going to be a change over there. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here, but we're not going to get into that because that'll be a part of the next episode. So that's basically it for this week. It is what it is. I'm happy that I at least got the bad rail joint out of there. Now I've just got an issue with that damn switch or turnout. And then obviously the next thing is going to be putting the buildings out, putting the scenery down for the second deck up here on the Uptown side. And then I'm not sure whether I'm going to go ahead and continue the rest of the way around, or if I'm going to start focusing on this side of the layout. Really, in reality, it makes more sense to try and get as much done on this side, the yard side or the Uptown side, to get that taken care of, because again, that's what you see when you come down the steps. And then once I finish Uptown, I may decide, instead of playing around with downtown, I may start working north. Of course, I came to the realization I did the hard side first, and that was what you see when you come down the steps. This here has to be right. So anyway, you all know the deal. Wait a minute, hold on. February 1st, my channel, 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Actually, I'm sorry, let me back up a minute, because this video comes out before Amherst. So it's actually Rick Bailey's going to be running Sidetrack Sunday this week, because I will be in Amherst. So Rick Bailey's channel, 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Obviously, the links are in the description below. You all know the deal. Wait for the high ball. Green tracks ahead. Be safe. God bless. We'll catch y'all next time. We'll see ya.